Hello and welcome back to the workshop, where today we're joined by Richard Proudman from Bachmann for a special announcement just before the British Railway Announcements from Bachmann on November the 5th.
Yep, so today, Mike, we have some brand new tooling from our EFE Rail brand. It's double scale, of course, and we have the Class 313 and 314 electric multiple units.
Fantastic choices. Now, obviously, we've seen a few multiple units done before, but actually it's been a little bit of a quiet time for EMUs. And actually, I think this is the first time that one of these, what I would term sort of second generation EMUs, have actually been produced ready to run as well.
Yeah, certainly. So it's the part of the PEP family, as they were known, which were derived at the start of the 1970s when British Rail wanted a new generation of unit for commuter services, high intensity, high loading units to replace things like the slam door stock, which is obviously a lot of compartments, not very safe for travellers on their own. And they started with the two PEPs and the four PEPs. There's three prototype units built at the start of the 1970s to test out new theories, new design ideas, and they led on to the 5 different classes of production PEP family units, second generation multiple units, and the 313 was the very first.
Yeah, and they really were quite a world away from what went before. Everyone must have seen the classic clips on YouTube of the commuter trains rolling into London with all the slam door stock, and everyone's jumping out the doors before the train comes to a stop.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you've got electrically operated doors, or power operated doors rather, and not as many either. So quite a different design.
Yeah, exactly. Large double doors, open seating, no compartments. Everyone can move around the coaches as they need, and the loadings were still pretty quick.
Yeah.
Even with the much fewer doors, but like I say, double doors, lots of space for people to get on and off quickly, and the trains get on or back to the next destination.
Yeah, that's right. Like you said, there are actually quite a wide range of these units. We've also got the 313 and 314 here, which are the overhead electric versions. There are also the 507s and 508s, which are the third rail versions. And there's also the 315s, which I think the longer sets as well for the Great Eastern section.
Yeah, so the 313s, they were the very first of the PEP family, built from 1976, and there were 64 units built. They're all 3 cars, and these had both the overhead catenary collection for power from overhead lines, and they had third rail shoe gear as well, which I think they were the first units to be dual mode in terms of the power collection. They also had tight lock couplings at either end, so units could be coupled together to create longer formation from the driver's cab. Didn't have to have a shunter going down in between the tracks again, as we saw before with conventional draw gear and buffers. So quite a revolution in not only the appearance but the operation of the units as well.
Absolutely. And actually the 313 was very long-lived as well. I mean, the last ones really were drawn very recently, weren't they?
Yeah, getting on 50 years in service. They've started on the Great Eastern Main Line, and then they went on to, after privatisation, so started with British Rail, then into Network South East Service, then they went into privatisation and used by Silverlink Metro and Wagon, West Anglia, Great Northern. And so that saw a lot of different liveries on the units, from your blue and grey through your Network South East, and then into the quite vibrant sort of purple and green of Silverlink. Yeah,
Silverlink was quite distinct as well, because I think at that time as well, some of the Silverlink units actually crossed London as well with using the different voltage systems, didn't they?
Yeah, that's right. So obviously the 313 is ideal for that scenario with their dual collection options. And then into the later years, some were transferred over to Southern, so went down toward Brighton and operated around there on the coastway services. One unit even ended up with Network Rail, so got the distinctive yellow livery for testing out the ERTMS system in the early 2010s. And then the last ones came out of service just a couple of years ago after almost 50 years. So really unsung heroes of the commuter services for the last half a century.
Yeah, absolutely. It was quite nice actually to see one of the last ones in operation with Southern, I think it was put back into its original BR blue and grey as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, and amazingly not plastered with health and safety notices and warnings and stuff like that. So that would be something I'm sure that we'll see reproduced on the EFE Rail Model 2.
That'd be lovely. And then in terms of the 314, they were really predominantly Scottish based, weren't they?
Yes, yeah. Much fewer number of units were built for the 314 class. Again, 3-car units. The main difference was the lack of the shoe gear. So these just collected from the pantograph from overhead lines. Went up to Scotland and they operated on various routes. Started again in blue and grey livery, then went into the Strathclyde passenger transport orange and black. So very vibrant colour schemes on these units. And then they got the carmine and cream as well. So two very distinctive liveries, followed by a few entering the ScotRail Saltire, which is the livery we're sort of familiar with today.
Yes, yeah, it's like their last kind of livery, wasn't it, the garage?
Yeah, so even though there was much fewer units, they had a very colourful life, operated around Glasgow, around wider areas of Scotland too. And then one went into sort of developmental testing as a hydrogen unit and used for the COP26 summit in, I think it was 2021. I think that's now been sort of condemned, sadly. But yeah, so a long and varied history for both classes.
Yeah, definitely. And then, like you say, loads of potential for colour schemes across the board.
Yeah.
50 years liveries. So.
Yeah, and the PEP units as a family, there was, I think, 755 vehicles built. So quite a phenomenal class.
So it was.
Superseded fairly quickly after by the Mark III base units. So the 5 classes was the sum total of the PEP family. But like I say, they lasted in traffic for decades and served on the front line without the fanfare, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like you say, they were superseded very quickly, but even though they were superseded in terms of design ethos and how units were put together, clearly they weren't superseded in terms of their usefulness and capability.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. People would be travelling on these for work day in, day out for many decades.
Yeah. And interestingly, he's one of the first, I think, as well, that had the issue with railhead adhesion during the autumn leaf fall as well.
Yeah.
Because it's a big change from brake shoes to brake discs. Obviously, a brake shoe could clasp onto the wheel. It would also then clean any grime and muck off the wheels. Whereas these being disc brakes, they were the first ones where they had to start learning how to manage leaf fall season with them as well.
And we've seen so many different units and vehicles nowadays to deal with leaves on tracks, haven't we? And your famous saying, train delayed because of leaves on tracks. So actually, we're instrumental in bringing much more variety to the railway network that as modellers love to recreate.
Absolutely.
It's like the Windhoff MPV that we've produced in the branch line range, another departmental stock. A lot of units, ironically, were rebuilt as standard units and things, weren't they? Not these classes, but
plenty of others.
They created themselves more work.
Absolutely, they were the great things to go and chase around after, actually, back in the day with the old standout units.
And now we just see 37s and such like with railhead treatment trains, and
that's not a bad thing, though, is it?
No, not at all. seeing those sort of heritage locomotives, all can maybe owe their resistance to the 313s.
Absolutely, indeed.
Hi, I'm Anthony of AGR Model Railway Store. We are located here in the High Street Mews of Leighton Buzzard with convenient links to the M1 motorway. We stock all the major manufacturers in N, 009, 00 and O. Our exclusive partners include Cavalex, Hornby, Bachmann and many others. We have a wide selection of DCC components which include controllers, decoders and many other accessories. Unique to our store is the Bachmann US Thomas & Friends collectible range. Here at AGR, we also have an exclusive range of 009 wagons from Pico and exclusive wagons in 00 from Rapido and Bachmann. We also have major accessories for all scales including Metcar, Model U, Humbrol and many others. In store we also offer our repair service which can include DCC and DCC sound installs from our expert team. Come visit us in store or see us at one of the UK largest model railway shows up and down the country where we specialise in the pre-owned selection of stock. Alternatively, visit our website agrmodelrailwaystore.co.uk.
In terms of the specification of the unit then, so what can we expect mechanically from these?
Yeah, so we've got a Cinter vehicle that's motorised, and that's got 2 motors, one per bogie. So we've got a nice strong drive mechanism there. It's got a die-cast floor to give a nice centre of gravity to the vehicle. Obviously we've got the pantograph, which is just for display purposes. It will sit sprung up or in a stow position, but it doesn't collect power or anything like that. In the 2 outer vehicles, we've got directional lighting. There's illuminated head code blinds. We've got high intensity headlights, all where appropriate. And we've got even the interlock door lights as well, which can be used on DCC.
Fantastic. And I noticed that you mentioned the 2 motors in there as well. They're actually just glancing through the windows, they're very neatly hidden there.
Yes, yeah, it's a low level mechanism, so you won't see any of the workings when you look through into the interior. There's a Plux 22 decoder socket in the centre vehicle again, and there's electrical conductive couplings between the 3 vehicles, so it's just one decoder to control all of the lighting functions. There's interior lighting across the 3 vehicles, and there's a pre-fitted speaker in the centre vehicle again, so if you want to add sound, it's relatively easy to do so. The couplings between the vehicles, they've got a close coupling mechanism built in as well. So that sort of mechanism really works well when you've got semi-permanent coupling, which obviously in this situation you have. So nicely articulated round corners without having to have a large gap on the straight.
Super. And in terms of variation, obviously a long lifespan, there are some changes to these units during their time in service. Have you got capability in the tooling to model that as well?
Yes, there's lots of subtleties that can be captured depending on which unit's being depicted at what point in its life. Obviously, we said that the 313 and the 314s, the main difference is the lack of shoe gear on the 314s. Then we've got things like the air conditioning pods on the top of the 313 that we've got in front of us, whereas the earlier versions of that model wouldn't have that feature. So there's lots of little subtleties that bring the era and livery specific details to the model.
Now, also, we've got lots of liveries still to look forward to in the British Railway Announcements in a couple of days' time, on November the 5th, when you find out the full details of all the liveries there. But obviously, we've got prices to talk about and availability as well.
Yeah, so for the 3-car unit, they come in at a recommended retail price of $349.95. That's for an analogue version unit. And like I say, if you want to add DCC, then it's just one Plux 22 decoder. And I expect third parties will offer sound projects suitable for these units as well. So it's £350 for the unit. That's the 3-car set. And we're looking at delivery in the first half of 2026. And we've got a dozen or so liveries coming on these models across the 313 and 314, which we'll have full details of in the winter British Railway Announcements.
So you'll be able to find out full details of the new 313 and 314 liveries in Bachmann's new British Railway Announcements, which take place on November the 5th through Bachmann's own YouTube channel. We'll also have full coverage online of the entire range of British Railway Announcements from Bachmann on keymodelworld.com/Bachmann-new-releases. A bit of a mouthful, that one, but it's there and ready for you to get involved with. Thank you very much for watching today. Hope you enjoyed this video and the insight into these 2 new units, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.